And I think that's the most important part about this, Jody and Robert, because I remember, Robert, when we first went out, I think we went to Los Altos to try and explain to a room full of people about clear cooperation, right? Which had come down from NAR. That's where this whole thing started at NAR, came down to us, and we were sort of given the role of, okay, go explain it to everyone. And when we got to the meeting, we talked about some pretty core concepts of clear cooperation, but there's always somebody who said something, but what if the house is on the left side of the street? Does it count then? And that's the
Yeah.
questions we really need, is finding all these little corner cases, that we want to clear up, clear up any myths, that be happening out there. But we have found out over the last couple of years, Robert, that there are certain conditions that need to be explained more.
Right. So you're right. When I guess 2019 or 20, I forget what year, but NAR did pass clear cooperation, and that kind of set MLSs on their ears trying to implement clear cooperation, where
Right.
a listing agent will promote or advertise a listing outside their brokerage. It then must be listed on the MLS under that policy, under that rule. That
Right.
was a mandatory rule. So, agents would have a property that they have under agreement and not quite ready yet to go full to market, best foot forward. And so they want to describe it as coming soon. And so they're going to tell Jody, or they're going to tell Mark, or somebody, hey, I have this property, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Willow Glen, and it's going to be coming soon. I think maybe in a couple of weeks. And right at that point, that triggers the clear cooperation policy, and it has to go on the MLS in some capacity.
And that's what the tour meetings were all about, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
right.
that was about communicating what's on the market and what's coming to market, because I'm looking for something like that.
Yeah, I have a buyer. So the implementation is called essentially coming soon, and you put it on the MLS as coming soon. And I think that's where everybody gets wrapped around the axle. Really, is what does coming soon mean, right? What does that mean? For us, it means the property's not ready to show or sell, and because you are not actively marketing it in that capacity, you are not accruing any days on market, right? Which is that hand in glove. I'm not showing, I'm not selling. I'm just telling people that it's going to be available. So why would I accrue DOM? Because I'm not actively marketing it. And so that's what we have, this members only do not show listing type to fit that need for that implementation for that NAR policy.
Comply with NAR's rule, yet still
so you have a listing,
some flexibility.
Yeah, you have a listing. It's not ready to go. Put it on our system as members only, do not show. Talk to everybody about it. Do everything except promote it to the public for sale. Right? I mean, it's pretty simple. Well, we have another step that we call members only show, which is another solution we came up with as feedback from the community, because when we introduced the NAR clear cooperation, people said, "Oh, I can't put it on the MLS. My seller's super private. They don't want anybody to know it's for sale. Just this select group of people, I guess." And so the MLS said, "Okay, we'll have this days on market. This members only show type. The MLS will not distribute it out to the internet. No Zillow, no Realtor.com, but since it's on the MLS and you're actively showing, you can promote it all you want. You can have a very quiet, very fully throttled, by appointment only, qualified buyers, all this, Tuesdays and Thursdays only, whatever you want."
Right.
The MLS just is not going to send it off campus, so to speak, right? You decide. And if you want to go full blown marketing, billboard on 101, go ahead. That doesn't really make sense because you have limited distribution, but you could, because there's no restriction really, other than the MLS will not distribute. And then of course you have the third step, or the third phase, which is most people are using anyway, as Mark likes to point out, that everybody just puts it on the MLS and puts it out to Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, global marketing, get everybody looking at it. So we have this 1, 2, 3 punch in as our implementation. And I think what was Mark alluding to in the early days was what triggers clear cooperation, and what constitutes marketing or selling, right? And so the people say, I have to present offers because that's the law, and it is the law. You do need to present offers, unless your seller says no more offers or your seller says no offers. And that happens all the time where people have deferred offer dates. Offers will be viewed on, whatever date. That's the seller direction to manage those offers. So they're in charge. And so, I think the scenario that we're really everybody's talking about and is the fly in the ointment, so to speak, is I have a property. It's in members only do not show. It's not accruing days on market. I'm not marketing it. Somebody walks up and says, "I'll take it," or I want to see it. I want to buy this property. I want to see it, right? Let me see it first. Subject to inspection. What should I do, right? What do I do? And I think that's a question for the community, not so much for the MLS. It's what should happen. What should the MLS be looking for in those scenarios, and what would be the desired outcome, right? Because it's your property, it's your buyer, it's your client. Our rules, our policies are to serve the community. My question to the community would be, what should happen? And one of the scenarios would be, you move it to, if your seller is going to entertain that possibility, right? If they're going to say, "Hey, I don't want days on market while we're painting, but if somebody walks in and meets my price, let's sell it."
Right.
Well, are you really not showing at that time, right?
Right.
Are you being?
But we will admit, Robert, in these low inventory times, the contractor comes in, the flooring company comes in, parks their big van in the middle of the driveway. Everybody starts asking, "What are you doing? You putting in new floors, new paint job? What are you going to
Yeah,
sell?"
yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
I've got somebody who I think
yeah.
my neighbor, and pretty soon you've got an impromptu open house happening.
Well, that's exactly right. So you and the seller need to be in step, need to be in sync, need to be in harmony with what are you going to do.
Right.
It's not so much the MLS, what are you going to do? It's you and the seller, what are you going to do? You and the client. So we've given you steps to meet the obligations of cooperating with the community and cooperating brokers and all the participants. You as listing agent and the seller have to determine how are you going to use that? Are you going to use that? Are you going to abuse that? It's really on those two parties, because the seller should be in sync. I am not going to take offers till I make it available to more buyers, right? The opposite is what problematic is. I am going to put it in members only do not show, and I'm going to exclude all others except this one person, right? Or these two people, or even these five people, right? I'm excluding all others. I'm excluding all possible qualified buyers. I'm limiting my seller's reach
Right.
on their behalf, I guess, right? And so that's really the case. To show or not to show, that is the question. It really is the question for the seller and the listing broker.
And that sort of turns into to promote or not to promote, right? Because I mean, an example that happened at a place I was looking at was the owner of the home went to all their neighbors and said, "I'm selling." And so all the neighbors called all their best friends and said, "You could buy the house right next to me," kind of
Yeah,
stuff. And pretty
that's
soon that off-market property was really on market.
well. So by letter of the contract, anytime you have a listing agreement, that property is on market, right?
Okay.
Because you have hired a broker to
That's
sell the
critical, I
property.
think. That's a critical statement.
So if you have your listing agreement is not active until a future date, then you're not on market, right? Because
Okay.
it's not, the agreement's not in effect. But generally speaking, when you have a contract, it's going to be, I, the buyer, am hiring you, the broker, to sell my property for $1 million during this term. That makes it active, and that makes it on market. Now, you and the seller can determine your marketing channels. How do we
How
want to go?
broad,
Do
how
we want to,
deep?
how far
Yeah.
are we going to do? Are we going to do flyers? Are we going to do anything? Are we just going to sit on it? I mean, what's going to happen here? So that's really, it's a more of a practitioner issue than MLS issue. And in fact, we're revisiting some of these elements, some of these components to see, should we modify them?
Right.
One of the things we have was even today on a normal regular listing, you can select no internet, right? It's a choice you make. It defaults to internet, yes. So a lot of people just skip over it, but you can say no Redfin, no Zillow, no
Yep.
Realtor.com on
That's in the
any
marketing
property.
section.
Yeah,
Marketing section of listing
any
management is,
property.
I
Yeah,
think it's the first button in that
yeah, and you
section.
can turn it on, you can turn it off all during the listing term, and it'll
Right.
go into the feed, then out of the feed, into the feed. You don't want to really yo-yo that, but you could. Well, that really is equivalent to members only show. And so the question would be, well, why don't we just remove that listing type and default to you have to choose
Right.
internet, yes or no. You don't default to it. You have to choose. And so that's a possibility that makes things a little simpler, right? Every listing that you put on our system, except for do not show, you have to choose, do you going to show it to the internet, yes or no? So
Got it.
they're almost all going to be private out of the gate. You decide how much exposure you want on behalf of your client, things like that. So my point is that hasn't happened yet. That's a rumbling we hear. It makes sense. But we don't want to, we're trying to simplify the whole process for everybody. And we think that that might be one way to simplify it. But it really, in my opinion, boils down to days on market. How do systems calculate days on market?
Right.
And when should days on market start? When should they accrue? What should happen with the property? If you are accruing DOM, of course, you days on market are going to start counting. If you are not showing, or you're sort of showing, should we have? What should we do?
Right. Because it
What should it
truly
be?
isn't on the market. But Robert, so let's talk about days on market for a second. You've always said, and rightfully so, you want to load days on market, price it accordingly. you
Yeah.
you will have an instant no days on market if it's priced, appropriately.
And the
You get a
opposite's
long days
true.
on
If you
market.
want on a lot of days on market, your seller has a long tolerance for time, come out at the ceiling and stay there,
Right.
right? Price reduction Wednesday always happens, right? And so, that days on market tell you a lot of things. Today, what I heard was that I actually heard several times brokers or an agent say days on market are a penalty that the MLS assesses on listings. And
Because we are the publisher.
right, well, we're calculating them, right?
Right. We're
And
doing some math.
yeah, we're doing some math, and so we're trying to penalize you for being on the market and not selling, right? Well, that's not true. I mean, days on market are a analytic that people use to determine tolerance for time, market activity, uh, price banding, things like this. And even if we didn't have days on market, let's say we eliminated days on market, if you go out to the internet, because it is so ingrained into the communities, Zillow, Realtor.com will do days on Zillow, days on Redfin, days
Right.
on Realtor.com, and this is days thing. One of the things that suggested, I guess by me, I'm the only banner carrier, is days on market could be days at this price, right? How many days was it at $1 million? How many days was it at 1,000,000 or 900,000? How many?
Right.
What's
Well,
that?
and
What's
that
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 time?
information is available within the history of every single listing.
You can
Right.
calculate
We're
it
just not
out.
doing the
Yeah.
math for you.
Yeah, right. You can calculate all that out. We try to expose that. There is an element of history loss in our current implementation that we're trying to rectify and try to get more visibility into the movement through the system. I think that's going to actually happen. So in the history, you'll see more movement through the listing types. But when you talk about members only do not show, that is our coming soon. What does coming
Okay.
soon mean? You tell me what it means. What should it mean? We think what it should mean is it's coming soon to all cooperating brokers.
Right.
It's not ready for any cooperating broker today, but it will be soon. And we haven't defined soon because we used to have it. I don't know if everybody remembers. In 2015, we had bucket O listings over there in the
Yeah, couldn't do much with them.
yeah,
Couldn't sort them. Couldn't do.
yeah, right.
But it was a big bunch of listings
Yeah, so we wanted
available to sell
yeah, or not sell.
or
There was
not
just no
sell.
DOM. Everybody got free 30 days DOM, right? Well, invariably, day 31 came, and oh, it's not ready, and so I don't want it to go to withdrawn, right? Because we would automatically. So I
Right,
think we extended that to 45 days or something like that. So the new construction people, they want to put their signs up, they want to market it coming soon,
correct.
for what, 6
Five
months?
models at this
Yeah,
price.
5 months. Yeah. See, so one size doesn't fit all, and we're trying to be flexible and provide all these tools for our community, our MLS subscribers, to know what's going on, be able to participate in the sales, listing
Right.
brokers, make offers to cooperating brokers, and the transaction continues. So that's really kind of the whole overview that our show, Do Not Show, and Regular Active bring to the party with these steps. And we do go out with list date. We have original list price, original list date, list date. We try
You
to be
can
very,
check all
very
those things,
transparent.
right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
try to be very transparent
So
because
Robert,
that's what people want.
we let's talk about the exclusion, which is still available, but also in relation to I work for Bustamante Galactic Real Estate. As you say, all the best properties on the best side of Mars.
On the best side of the moon, not the dark side of the moon.
Not the dark side of Mars, but the light side of Mars.
That's right.
I come in to the sales meeting on Monday, and I let everyone know in my office, hey, I got this brand new listing. It's not on the MLS. I got this brand new listing over the weekend. That's allowed, correct? As per clear cooperation, I can do that.
Yeah. The seller is not cooperating with anybody. They're saying, I want you to keep it within your brokerage.
Okay.
And you're welcome to do that as long as it's the same broker. So franchises have different brokers. So that you can't, Keller Williams Franchise 1 and Keller Williams Franchise 2, for example, just to name a franchise, not to pick on anybody. It would trigger clear cooperation if
they the second I go outside of my brand,
go outside of your brokerage,
out of my brokerage, okay,
it triggers clear cooperation. But you can still exclude it. You have you have a judge or a felon, both sides of that coin,
right?
Don't want anybody to know, or want to limited market. You could sell it to your own client base, right? And your partner's client base, and anybody within your brokerage client base. It's perfectly all right within the clear cooperation policy.
Okay, so I tell my office, but Sally in my office, she's friends with Mary at another brand, and she tells Mary, hey, I heard about this house over that Mark's got in Silver.
Right.
Am I sort of out of compliance now?
Yeah, you are.
Wow.
Because
okay.
the listing a contract belongs to that broker.
Got it.
And so it's broker trickle down effect, that it's the broker is the one that's excluding it, and the broker is the one that is applying the clear cooperation policy.
Okay.
So everybody, again, it's a matter of harmony and communication and everybody being in step. If everybody's in step, everybody knows what the other guy's doing, then everything's very clear. If you start getting out of sync, then it starts to create problems for people.
Well, clear cooperation and clear opportunity for everyone.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you have fair housing, right? You have all kinds of elements that come to bear on, especially now as the light of justice is being shown on organized real estate. You really want to make sure that you're very above board, very transparent.
Got it. So I've been writing down questions. So where does a members only listing go? You say,
well,
it's not going to the internet,
right?
But is it going to the association over in Alameda County?
Yeah. So what happened was a good point. So what happened was we isolated those listings to the nth degree. So there was like no distribution at all.
Right.
And our agents are taking properties outside our market. So you had an Alameda County listing or a San Francisco listing or Sacramento, something on the inland, and we just kept it to ourselves, right? It was never sent to the native agents. So within our the desire of our subscribers, if you are in a data share with us, which means that offers of compensation are shared and information is
Right.
shared and rules are shared, um, we will distribute the listing to you for the native population and all our listings in
Okay.
general, in case there's a migration from Sacramento into the valley or down south, or it's just a greater population of agents. So we do distribute our coming soons, and we get their coming soons.
Yeah, I was gonna say we get their stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're doing real open exchange of information to the benefit of our subscribers, and they'll have, just like we have, DOM calculations and little nuances and things like that. But generally speaking, you pick up the phone, contact the agent, go, hey, what's going on with this property? Can I buy it? And they'll say yes or no, depending on the policy at that MLS.
Got it. But for the buyer's agent, we've been talking about how does the selling agent have to work with this? But from the buying side, there is the benefit of it's almost sort of like secret inventory that's not on Realtor.com.
Yeah, the coming soons don't go for most MLSs are not going to distribute them
Right.
to the market. And all MLSs within our data share, our NorCal Alliance, and even CRMLS, they all have the internet no capability, right?
Mhm.
So that if somebody wanted to keep their listing off the global market,
Right.
but only in the agent community, they still can, and they just select no internet. But you will see it. They cannot hide it from us in the data share.
Right. I think it would be a great thing in these low inventory times to have that little batch that my buyer can't be finding out on the open marketplace, and I can show value by bringing those two.
Yeah, we've actually had people complain they can't find their members only on Zillow, right?
Yeah.
Or they can't find this coming soon on Redfin. Well,
Uh,
it doesn't go to them.
correct. Just they don't get it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So key factors of a member's from the listings from the seller side. It can stay there. There's no time restriction at this point. Correct. It can stay there.
No, there is no time restriction, but if you abandon the listing, there's been a couple abandoned listings where I think the
Right.
agent forgot they had them
Right.
or something. And if you're there for an extraordinarily long time, we'll reach out and go, hey, Mark, what's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of like that furniture store that's been going out of business for 4 years,
Or the
according to their big sign out front.
Eagles farewell tour
Yeah,
number
right,
7, right?
right.
Yeah.
I can't believe the Rolling Stones are coming back with AARP as their sponsor this year. It is so appropriate.
Hey, don't knock it.
I ain't liking it.
Yeah.
Keith can do. If Keith can still get up on stage, I'm ready to listen. Okay, so it can stay as long as you want. It can stay there.
You can stay there for the full term. They will actually expire out of
right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, let's talk about okay, so and every time I move it, if I move it from members only to fully active, I get a brand new days on market, and my price history doesn't show that price increase I did.
Right. So that's something very special that MLS Listings does, and it's in favor of listing brokers because we want them to bring their inventory into the system for everybody to see. So we want to remove any obstacles that might prevent them from, like, that DOM penalty, the price history penalty, all these other kinds. We want them to bring it in so you can bring a buyer and the transaction will sell and close. So what happens is when you move it through those steps, if you use all those steps, the list date will reset and price history will reset so that it's sort of like on your mark, get set, go. So on your mark, coming soon, get set, members only show, then go global, regular.
All the doors open up.
All the doors open. And so generally speaking, this interim step, those other 2 steps, the do not show and show, could be used to test your price, to test your interest, to gauge what might happen based on the volume of interest or calls you get, or people are really super excited. When if you say, oh, I think it's going to be $1 million, I'll take it. Oh, okay, you know what? I think it barely should be $1 million too. That kind of thing. you can chase those steps, and then when you finally get everything settled, you bring it to global active, regular active, you have it exactly the way you want it, and you and your seller are off and running and having a
Right.
good time.
Okay.
Now that said, members only show is a destination. You can go active, pending, contingent, sold, um, active,
Right.
contingent, pending, sold in members only show. You do not have to go over to regular active, so it's a
Right.
destination. It can stay there,
Mhm.
um, and
So
so it's up
let's,
to you.
yeah. And that brings up sort of my next question, which is the I saw it go into members only do not show, and then it was impending. How can they sell it if it was in do not nobody got to see it? So
Yeah,
let's
well,
talk
so
about it
that's
from the
that. I think that's what this meeting's all about, is these cases where that happens. It's very difficult for us to determine that there was a violation, because they could essentially do this uh, do not show, and then they have an offer subject to inspection. They move it to show, it gets inspected, and then they move it to contingent, pending, and so forth, because you can't go from do not show to any other status.
right
You have to,
mechanically you can't.
yeah, you
We just
can't,
don't
right.
allow it.
You have to move it to, yeah, you have to move it to show before you can do it to contingent, pending.
Okay.
So that's really the what's the word? The odd man out. That probably is an agent trying to be a bad actor that is excluding other brokers intentionally. Um, it's they're harming the community, and that's what we notice. We don't really notice the smooth sailing properties. What we notice are the exceptions.
Right.
And so we did do some analysis. Our data services team did some analysis. And that's a very small percent of our overall um, listing. What's the word?
Yeah, it's less than
Path, life
1%.
cycle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It is so
it's very
small that
very
is.
small.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
if we can prove it, we will assert our rule, and there will be a
Okay.
penalty. There'll be a severe penalty. Um, but that's not our goal. Our goal really is to make everything cooperative and everybody's happy, group hug, kumbaya, and okay. But you're going to have people that are going to drive in the commuter lane. People are going to, they just do, right? Because the people take two parking places, right? The rules don't apply to them. So that's the exception. But we do have a pretty active compliance department. Anybody that's trying to, people will put showing information in the do not show, and our people will take it out, right? We will not leave it in. We will take it out, and then we send you a notice saying that, hey, we took this out because you said call agent to schedule showing, and that's not allowed.
Right.
So we're a very active compliance department, very fair, very transparent compliance department. Um, but we also have a very cooperative community. So we don't have a lot of troublemakers, so to speak. People are just trying to get by and do their thing and work on behalf of their clients, both on either side. So those are the exceptions more so than the rule. And we tend to focus on those exceptions. Hey, that guy's in the commuter lane. I know that when we were commuting to Kiefer during the summer, the commuter lane
Right.
was only used by
Well,
multiple people, right?
yeah, there's no college.
Once
No
the
college. Yeah.
sun starts setting,
Uh,
man, everybody's in there because they think you can't see,
yeah.
you can't see
Uh,
inside, right? So that's just kind of the way people are, and so the police will go get them, right? And you're always cheering them on, hey, way to go,
go
get them,
get
right?
them. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, so compliance works hard and diligent, and so does everybody affiliated with the MLS and our subscribers, right? So
Okay.
that's kind of it's kind of the exception. We'd really rather not focus on that. What we want to do is educate and say, listen, you don't need to do that. And if it's a matter of days on market, then maybe we can recalibrate that somehow and do a different kind of spin on that,
Right.
and make it so you don't feel compelled somehow that you have to abuse the system because you're going to get this penalty that we
Exactly.
call DOM. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of the state of the affairs right now. And we are taking all kinds of feedback always. but especially now, what should happen? How do we want to handle coming soon properties, right? And what does that even mean these days, coming soon? I think it's taken on a new meaning to where the customers, the consumer just ignores it, right? Because they're saying, okay, what that, to your point, that everybody's selling and coming soon. So
Right.
what, so it's kind of lost its luster, or its meaning, really. And I think it's kind of losing some, what's the word? Losing some steam, because it's just so. I mean, I don't know what.
Right.
Our coming soon means it's not ready to show or sell.
It's not ready to show.
That's our meaning.
Um, we actually have a computer that works for us that actually looks at the remarks, and on occasion, it will find, or somebody will find and report, hey, it's in members only, do not show, but they've got showing instructions in the private remarks.
Yeah, we actually check those twice a day.
Okay.
We have the PC, we have the alert that comes to us, and our person will check it in the morning, and then check it in a day, because listings come in all the time. Right. So when you're a compliance department, you're really trying to keep the pot from boiling over, because it's always moving. There's no way to be at 100%. But my young friend, I did a check over this weekend, because that's just compliance.
That's
never
what
sleeps,
you do.
right?
Yeah, you're a giver.
And in all of our residential active listings, active contingent and pending listings, we had 2 properties without a photo. Okay. Right. And that is probably as close to 100% that you're going to get on a
that you're possibly going to get. Yeah.
So it's to credit to our subscribers that they are following the rules. And if you have a property, you have to have at least 1 photo.
Right.
And if it's just 1 photo, it has to be of the front of the property. And that makes for a harmony, right? It makes for a cooperation. It's a good place to be.
Right.
So, we're always trying to find these analytics and looking for places where we can improve. And one thing we can do is improve the ease of use to list on our system. But that's coming soon. So
yeah, that's a coming soon thing. And we'll go there. I brought a slide.
Oh, excellent. I'm glad we can talk about it.
So while we are looking at these listings, one of the things you and I notice and sometimes giggle about is a listing agent will put it up, members only, do not show. And in their instructions, they will say something along the lines of, it will be on the MLS soon.
Or we will be live.
Right.
On a certain date.
So spoiler alert, folks, you're on the MLS.
And spoiler alert, you are live.
There's you can't say, here's the property, but don't look at it.
It's just the audience. It's just really the audience you're going to go to. It's going to be a very small, it's going to be virtually no audience.
Right.
To a very small audience, to the whole world.
Right. You were out there for the whole world to see. Data, I unless somebody's got a question, feel free, folks, to put it in the chat or raise your hand if you know how to do that. You can use the participant button at the bottom and raise your hand if you've got a question on any of this stuff. Would love to hear the corner cases, right? Because as I said when we started this discussion, Robert, we've learned some things along the way, right? We learned that no, you can't be collecting DOM while you're not on the market, kind of thing. That was a problem.
Well, so the corner cases are the exceptions to the rule, right? And it's just not possible to legislate all behavior. Like what Mark was saying earlier, when we first had clear cooperation, people would say, okay, I wrote an address on the back of my business card and it fell out of my pocket and somebody picked it up and said, hey, is this for sale? Does that trigger clear cooperation, right? So, I mean, there's all kinds of iterations and permutations that could happen. Most of our stuff is just for the mainstream, right? And if you jump into that mainstream, the MLS is a selling machine. You jump on, hold on, and just blast your way through.
Right.
And then you have these, corner cases, which may or may not meet or fall within a rule or outside a rule. We rely on what's called best practice, and we rely on people's forthrightness, their earnestness, and their general professionalism to know what to do, what they should do, right, and then actually do that.
Make it. Got it. I'm not seeing any question, Robert. Any other things? While we've been sitting here talking, Alicia's been putting all sorts of information into the chat room, links in the chat room. One of the things she put up, Robert, was an article that's in our pro support site. I think you created. It's got some great like FAQ charts, right? Can I put a sign in the front yard?
Can I put a sign? What are my DOM stock? It's just a cheat sheet chart to kind of give you an overview of what you can expect when you use these listing types. Then what are the restrictions or what are the permissions in using those listing types, right? And can I do this? Can I do that? And it's got a little X in there. So you can use that. Yeah, we encourage you to look at that at least once and say, okay, I understand. Because we try to make it very clear. I do want to say, we have lots of ways to report what could be violations. We have report listing, it's right above the map on every listing in the agent full report, right? You just click there, takes you to this little wizard, you click through, boom, you can report it anonymously, or you can report it, if you want to know what happened, or if we want us to communicate with you in some way, you give us your information and we'll let you know. When you report anonymously, if there's no violation, we cannot tell you that we can't, we don't know who you are. So we
can't find you.
But you should know that anytime you do report anything to us as the reportee or the complainant, so to speak, you're never disclosed to the respondent. They'll always say, who complained? It was a Mark. And we'll just say, well, that's really not relevant. The fact is,
of course it wasn't. Here's his phone number.
But you report it that way. Then you can also, on our homepage, we have report
a violation. I think it says.
I think it's a rules button. It says report clear cooperation, or something.
It says report.
I should know what it says. It's a report
right
violation.
Next to the logo.
Right next to the logo.
MLS listings logo.
And that'll take you to our pro support community, and there we have this whole clear cooperation wizard. Then we have a contact compliance form. So I have lots of ways for you to be in contact with us through those channels. When you contact compliance, though, that form, you can't be anonymous because they're generally a question. I'm contacting, I need to know something.
Well, or we're going to need some photos, or we're going to, something.
So we definitely need evidence, right, of the clear cooperation violation, and people are pretty quick to give us that. So we're not at a loss for those evidence. They're pretty good, and it's good. We deputize our entire community and say, there's things that we just can't know are going on. And so we rely on those reports to come in to help us, keep the peace and to keep things flowing.
Okay. And that it's not just for clear cooperation. It could be a photo violation.
Yeah, it could be anything. And like you say all the time, if you have a question, give us a holler.
Yeah.
Because if we don't know the answer, we'll find out. Like we had this really good question about, what was it? We actually had to go speak to some attorneys and talk to the NAR policy people and the CAR attorneys. And it was very helpful to us because it was something that we wanted to know also.
Right.
And so everything doesn't have to be a get them, Robert. It could just be, hey, can we do this? Can we not do this? And what if we use this language? No, what? Go ahead. There's no rule against that.
Right.
And so forth. So and then if you ask ahead of time and you're not sure, our people will tell you. Then you'll know, and you can sail in peace and not be disturbed by anybody. We do document what we say, so that we always have a record that if you somehow it spins around, you could say, hey, Robert told me that it's okay, and then I'm on the hook if there's a problem. So,
and it's not just about levy the fine, bring down the hammer, all that kind of stuff. We're gonna make some phone calls first, right? We don't just start sending out invoices.
No, we don't treat, we don't, no, we don't. We want people to know, just like this meeting here. We want people, we think that information is power and knowledge is best. And there are some issues that, you know, you can't pull back. And
Right.
those are
Showing violations.
showing violation. That's
Yeah.
number one, especially during the pandemic. That really came up as a big no-no, right? You have to follow the showing instructions. And that's part of why we have this coming soon thing, or this members only do not show, and members only show, and all of these things, internet yes, no, so that the listing agent and their client are comfortable putting their property on the MLS, and they don't get, you know, they're not worried about, you know, security or danger or anything like that. It's a
Right.
very safe place to sell your property. So it's very
Right.
important to always follow the showing instructions.
And for you buyers agents, it's, you know, showing instructions. You didn't follow the showing instructions, which included notify the listing agent, that kind of stuff. So when you open up the front door and you meet their Rottweiler coming down the stairs, you now know why they put those
Right. There could be a
instructions
lot.
in.
There's a lot. I mean, we've had real case scenarios that are really just unbelievable, and you know, we just don't want to march down that road. Just
Right.
follow the showing instructions.
And generally, Robert, just because we are with the Santa Clara County Association of Realtors, at what point does it move from an MLS violation to an association ethics issue?
That's a good question. We have a case right now, and it actually we ruminated over it as a MLS rule violation, and it actually wasn't a rule because it was a behavior,
Okay.
right? And when it's a behavior, there is intent and, you know, results and outcome and
Right.
that sort of thing. So that really needs to go before a panel to hear both sides of what the complaint is and how the person responds, and then the panel will hear it and they can render a decision whether or not it's within or outside of the standards of practice or code of ethics for realtors.
Okay.
So if it's black and white and it's on the listing, that's our space all the way. If it's nebulous or involves a behavior, lying, cheating, stealing, things of this, that you have to, you know, make a determination, then there's this whole grievance process, which was actually shortened a couple of years ago by the CAR arbitration and hearing manual. It's shorter. It was really long, but now it's quicker. But I encourage people to show up, show out, and actually levy that ethics charge, because you can do those anonymously as well. And then the grievance committee will act on your behalf of the complainant and render the decision here. And many times it turns out not to be a ethics issue. It's you know, it was okay for them to do.
Right.
It's just a misunderstanding in some way.
And that's
And
where we
SCORE,
always,
to their credit, excuse me, SCORE, to their credit, they have all of the bells and whistles with respect to those. They have ethics advocates. I believe they have an ombudsman. They have all of these services available to help realtor v. realtor, and many times they don't actually get to a hearing.
right. You know, without any questions, Robert, I sort of want to segue a little bit, and I want to go to, let's see if I can find it here. Oh, right here. And what I'm looking at is this, Robert, right there. It's at the bottom of every single listing, right? We have used this statement since you and I have been there, and I think
Right.
you're at 17 years, I'm at 16 years. Because I think most people either don't see it, don't read it, overlook it, whatever. But the term accurate but not guaranteed. What does that mean? You know, I mean, you know, deep down on a day-to-day basis, what's that mean to the average realtor? Accurate but not guaranteed.
It means as a real estate professional, you need to do your job. You need to do your due diligence. You need to know what it is I'm supposed to know, right? And go find that out on behalf of your client.
Okay.
So we're going to present and the listing broker is going to present their best belief of this things to be true and correct, right? And if we can prove that it's not true and correct, we can take a unilateral position and modify that listing in some way. But it's very difficult for us to do that all the time. And so we rely on listing brokers' warrant that this is true and correct. But even listing brokers, they're going to do their best. I think the word is best belief, or I don't know if it's good, maybe a good faith belief that this is true and correct.
Okay.
But everybody should do their diligence and determine is. Here's a real good example. You can list a property, 123 Elm Street in Campbell, California, but 95008. You go to Campbell schools.
Right.
All of these things are Campbell, but you're taxed by the city of San Jose.
Say what?
Right? Yes. Yep. And so, they've annexed certain portions of Campbell for
Yeah,
San Jose
little
services
patches.
and Texas. Yeah. So you just need to do things that'll affect your buyer. You need to kind of just do your due diligence. That's why you say it's very accurate, but you can't guarantee every little aspect because it's like what do they call it? It's a changing world, right?
Right. And all of our data does not come from one source. I mean, we get square footage data from over here, we get school data from there, we get taxation data here.
Yeah.
Right? We're an aggregator. We're a publisher.
Right. Well, so we publish, but we don't produce. So that means that
right.
If we're talking about square footage in particular, as you say, the only way to know how big anything is to actually measure it.
Yeah, break out the tape measure.
Yeah, break out tape measure or whatever you're going to do. If you're not going to do that, then you can rely, or you're going to rely on others to do that for you.
Right.
Then asterisk may not be actually, your mileage may vary.
Right.
Because I didn't measure.
Right.
Right. So sellers may or may not know their lot size. They may or not know their square footage. They say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Go figure. You can import realist data, which they get from a variety of sources, and we asterisk that saying,
correct,
it's coming from realist. It also is not guaranteed to be correct in all cases. It's highly vetted. Right. And in fact, you and your team just had a meeting with them, CoreLogic, and you were discussing these very attributes to get them even dialed even closer to
dial it tighter. Absolutely.
Dial it tighter. Yeah. And so, that's a service we provide. If you don't know and you have to publish something, you can import that data.
Right.
And boom, ask her. So you should when you're representing these things to your client, you should probably pass that along and says, okay, I did not measure. They saying it's 2,000 square feet.
Right. So, and I've seen comments in the private remarks along the lines of buyer to verify square footage.
Yeah. I mean,
that's allowed, right?
Yeah. And that's just a reminder, right? I think that's a common sense reminder that if you're going to hang your hat on it and bet the, what do you call it? Bet everything on this thing being 2,100 square feet. Bet the farm. Thank you. You're going to bet the farm. There's a 21. You should actually find some way to measure it because no one's going to do it for you, right?
Now, I'd like to bring up the very personal, I know for you, topic of your second story on your home, according to Santa Clara County.
According to the realist and the Santa Clara County Assessor's Office, I live in a 2-story home. And I'm still trying to find that second story.
With a hidden stairway, it turns out.
With a hidden stairway, that's right. My driveway is full of cars, right? I don't know where they are. So what you're pointing out is that somewhere along the line, the county record had this home. Now, I live in a court, and there are second 2-story homes. So maybe
are you the original? Out of curiosity,
I'm the original owner. Yeah. We haven't changed it. So it's the assessor's office is evidence of Newton's third law, I think, maybe first law.
Oh boy.
Body at I know we're being very erudite here today. A body at rest will stay at rest until acted on by another. The tax is going to keep that data until somebody goes in and says,
they've
hey,
got
Robert
no reason to change it.
Yeah, it has no second story. Right. And so I haven't sold my house, and I've never had to change it. So if you look at but so that's an example of when you import the realist data, it might be very well come straight from the county, Santa Clara County or San Mateo County, anybody. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's still correct. It might have been correct at one time,
Right.
and now it's not so correct,
Right.
right? And so,
Accurate, but not guaranteed.
yeah, but
Mm.
they're really close on a lot of stuff, right? I think my square footage is right. It's just that darn second story is kind of
Yeah. um,
getting in the way there.
Now, and just for everybody's, you walk in and you look at the house. We saw this sometimes up in San Mateo County. The world's most expensive 900 square foot house possible. And you walk in, but the listing agent put it down as 1,200 square feet in the listing, but they added the room over the garage. They added the cabana. They added the doghouse. They added everything into it, right, to bring that price per square foot calculation up, I guess. But when you walk in and you go, this isn't 1,200 square feet. That's the yellow flag that's being waved in front of you. Time to make some phone calls. Time to break out the
Yeah,
tape measure.
do some research, and like you said, if it's unpermitted and the county wants to come in and demand a takedown, they can. So,
Okay.
we recommend that you only use permitted square footage. And if you don't, you do it sort of at your own risk because, again, like you're saying, hey, that's not actually the square footage.
Right. But once again, I've seen private remarks that say main house, 900 square feet, dog house, 200 square feet, that
Yeah, yeah,
they sort
yeah.
of lay it all out.
Yeah. So you point to something that we really want to work on. It's a personal project of, I don't know of yours, but it is close to home for me. We want to get our ADU data more
Yeah,
complete to where we have ADUs and we can show the amenities, kitchen, beds,
correct.
things like that. What's in the second structure or more. Right now we have a couple of fields, but so people try to cram ADU stuff into the primary square footage, and especially if it's um, detached. You kind of have to think of it like a buyer. Is a buyer going to think, hey, this is a 5 bedroom home? Oh yeah, 2 bedrooms or one of the bedrooms is 20 feet away.
Right.
Does that
Right.
is that reasonable to put? And
You have to go outside to get
yeah, you
to
got to decide
it.
to get to that other bathroom, right? That's why we really want only the primary stuff there. And admittedly, we need to do a better job of building out the ADUs so that you can get ADU one, ADU two with bed one, bed two, these kinds of things. It'll be a more full listing, but that's kind of what you want. But right now, like to your point, you can put all the description about the property in the public remarks because it's an attribute of the property. Then anything that has to do agent to agent, you put in the private remarks, and the private remarks have very little things you can't say or put in there.
Okay. And Robert, before we've got like 5 minutes left, but I do want to bring up two topics. The first is the recent, because we did a couple weeks ago, we changed our compensation options.
Yeah, I recommend we stop recording though if we're going to talk about compensation.
Okay.
That was the advice of June Barlow, the CAR attorney,
Okay.
because it's discoverable. But
Gotcha.
for California, we are actually a better positioned than say the Missouri case because our offers are broker to broker,
Right. Right.
and the only thing you had to put was the penny, the smallest denomination possible in U.S. currency. So it was never really a standard or a fee setting.
Right.
And now we've modified the software to go all the way
You can go to zero.
yeah,
Yes.
0 or greater instead of a penny or greater.
Right.
Now it's 0 or
Zero
greater.
or
So the
greater.
delta for our guys is just 1 cent.
1 cent. Yep. Okay. And then Rob, you almost let the cat out of the bag.
I know.
You almost bet the farm to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, this is something we're pretty excited about, and hopefully it works for everybody the way they want it to. It's a way to. Well, you can tell them about it. You're the guru here.
Yeah, well, neither of us, because this isn't out yet. This is totally sneak peek for everyone here. we are going to allow you a new way to build your listing faster. So Robert, we've always had I want the public data. I want the county records for square footage and ownership and, number of beds and baths and all that kind of stuff. But our thought was, well, wait a second, we can get you the public data. We already do that, but we can also get you the data on 123 Main Street that we've got sitting in our records. It's
Yeah,
sitting in
so
our
we're
database.
gonna we Smart Draft, just like real estate. I think the message is that we're gonna compile from a variety of sources.
Okay.
And so what'll happen is when you go to sell Robert's house at 123 Main Street, it'll bring in all kinds of data, including stories.
Including the
And
missing
you
second
can say,
story.
oh, nope, nope, this isn't right.
Right.
And you check that
Exactly.
off. Or you know what? It now it has air conditioning. Now it's got so it'll bring a wealth of data in that you can just go, yep, 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 and boom, you're off and running.
Correct.
Or you can say, okay, no, not to that and this and that, but it's a way for you to bring it all in at once. And it's going to be a limited set of info as we roll it out. But if we get the adoption and people like it and stuff, then we can start working and expand it out. But it's going to be it's a nice feature I think that we have because people really enjoy bringing the real estate in, and people also can change that, right? That's one thing we can tell you is that if you bring real estate in, it says a million square feet or whatever, go ahead and go in there and change it to whatever, and then it
Right.
changes from realist to other as the attribute. So attribution. So yeah, so smart drafts on the horizon, and I'm glad we got a little sneak peek here for this audience because we want to build some big mo,
Yeah.
and have people looking forward to it.
Well, and where it is, folks, when you're in listing management and you enter in, 123 Main Street, you've always had that button that says get tax data. Well, now there's an orange button right next to it that says, I think it says get smart draft or something along those lines. You can't miss it. It's a nice little orange button.
It's not out yet, though. You don't go looking for it today, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we
not
don't.
there
Yeah,
yet.
not there
But
yet.
this week, I think they're doing the final testing.
Yeah.
It could even be as we speak. They're doing some final testing right
And
now.
you and your people are gonna go out.
We are going to talk. Let's talk, as they say.
Talk the demo.
You guys can talk amongst
This is
yourselves. We
sweater
can talk.
weather. Yeah, we get the whole. Yeah.
Oh, you're getting the full bang, as they say. So,
Nice.
folks, it's 2:00. I'm not seeing any messages in the chat room. If you want to raise a hand, oh, hey, there's Rick. Mark and Robert and Mark, would you briefly go over the cost of violations, to disciplinary fines and otherwise? The amount would be helpful. Saw a list once. A link from Ms. Alicia would be great. So Robert, do we publish? If you're a really bad boy
Yes.
and you won't take that photo down.
Yeah, so we have a appendix which will give you our citations and our whole practice and policy. So generally speaking, on your first offense, we're going to contact you and say, "Did you know that you can't do this, or did you know that you need to do this?" And you go, "Oh shoot, I didn't know. Well, let me fix it." Boom, done. Case closed. If we contact you and we reach you, or you ignore us, then we're going to issue a actual penalty, a charge. Generally, the first offense is going to be, depending on, like, say no photo, right? You'll get $100 fine, but you still have to add the photo. If after a period of time we notify you again, hey, Mark, you haven't added the photo, your fine will increase to $200 inclusive. So now you've just incurred a $300 penalty
Okay.
by not adding a photo. If you decide to be obstinate, we're going to keep escalating that fine until the NAR limit of 15,000 is reached, right? And even at that point, if you just go to the wall, then we suspend and then you expel. So there's this whole chain that we rarely get past the $100 fine because that brings everybody attention, right?
Now I'm going to use the wrong word here, but along the way, you could request a tribunal. That's the wrong word. I'm
sure. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. Everything doesn't come down like a lightning bolt from Mount Olympus. If you feel wrongfully aggrieved by the MLS compliance department, you can request a hearing. That's that hearing that we talked about, that panel.
Right.
And we will have to respond to your request for a hearing. So we bring all our case, we present it, we say this happened, this is what, these are the dates, the times, this is, you know, the response, and then the person could say, you know, no, this didn't happen, and blah blah. Then the hearing panel will render a decision,
Okay.
and we stand by what they decide.
Okay. But you're going to be judged by your peers, is what this comes down to.
Absolutely. So right now, the rules are made by our community. Robert doesn't do them, and it was interesting. We were at the NAR thing in Anaheim, and I sat there and I said, you know, clear cooperation was a 719-3 vote.
Yeah, in San Francisco. I
Yeah,
remember
in
the
San
day.
Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it didn't squeak through.
No.
It was a overwhelming, you know, thing. And then so you know, so how do things get passed? You can be involved. We're always asking for feedback. We need a rule that does this. We don't need a rule that does that. And then we have a rules committee that's going to ingest those, digest them, and kick it around, and then send it up to the board of directors, who will say yes or no, and so forth. So this whole process that we follow, we try to represent the will of the community as best we can.
Right. And you can bring those ideas, those comments, that feedback, not only to us directly, you know, compliance at MLSlistings.com. You could take it up through your association, right? You connect with Neil. Neil will connect with our CEO, Dave Wetzel. I mean, there are lots of ways to get us ideas. And Robert, sometimes the first idea is not the best idea, and clear cooperation is, and our use of members only is a primary example of that. We came back a year after implementation and said, you know, we need to polish this a little more. We need to look at days on market. We need to look at price history, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and we made some variations.
Yeah. So right now it's pretty good. Our listing brokers love it. Once they find out how everything works, they just love it to pieces. These are the best things to slice bread. It takes all the burden off of them, a rush to market off of them. They can kind of settle in, and if they have a aggressive seller, or what do you call it, a motivated seller, boom,
right,
just go straight to regular active, or unmotivated out. You don't have to use those steps.
Correct. Right? They're available.
If you get a listing agreement, exclude it within 3 days, sit on it, get it ready. Don't do anything with the property. When you're ready, you can do coming soon, 2 weeks. Members only show a week, 10 days, and then regular active, you know, and you've pretty much got everything you need by that time.
And one last little tip, folks, before we go: as you come out of members only and you go fully active and you've opened up all the doors and you're out there fully exposed, you can't go back to members only. Do not show anymore.
You're pretty much committed. Yeah.
You can't go back.
Well, think about it though. But before that happened, before any of this happened, the world still existed.
Yes.
And people were buying and selling houses in 2015 and 2009, and you know, it was still happening. So
it was still going on. Yeah. Robert, thanks for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Jody's out there someplace. Thanks everyone for staying with us for an extra 5 minutes. Greatly appreciate your time. Rick, thanks for a great question as usual, Mr. Rick.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You bet.
You guys are awesome.
And I don't believe we're doing, Alicia would have to tell me, I don't believe we're doing one of these in December, because it falls right at the end of the month kind of stuff, and everyone's going to be in their holiday mode. They don't need to see us. But we'll definitely be back in January, taking this up next year once again. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate all your time.
Thank you.